Hello everyone, and welcome to my Sister Wives For You channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. In a shocking twist that no one in the Sister Wives universe saw coming, Season 20 has detonated with a kind of emotional and psychological explosion that even longtime viewers are saying feels different, darker, and far more calculated than anything the Brown family has ever weathered before, and at the center of the chaos, again, is Robyn Brown, whose latest statement, described by fans as diabolical, is reshaping every assumption the audience once held about the show's most polarizing wife, setting off a frenzy of speculation, betrayal, and emotional upheaval that threatens to blow the entire Brown family dynamic to pieces as the season unfolds with a level of raw tension that makes even the family's most infamous past conflicts look tame. It all began innocently enough, or at least as innocently as a Brown family sit-down can be after years of fractured relationships, private resentments, and wounds that were never truly allowed to heal. The cameras were rolling. Kody was attempting to put on the face of a man who still believes he can bring unity back from the brink, and Robyn, eyes wide, voice trembling with her usual mix of emotional fragility and theatrical sincerity, leaned forward and delivered a statement so startling, so loaded with accusation and self-victimization that it left not only the wives stunned into silence, but the entire fanbase reeling in disbelief. "I didn't destroy this family," she said, her voice breaking at just the right moment. "But if things keep going the way they're going, I might be the only one left willing to fix what the others are determined to tear apart." That single sentence, described by critics as manipulative, dramatic, and chilling in its implications, sent shockwaves through the fandom, not because Robyn hadn't said things like this before, but because this time she wasn't just placing blame, she was rewriting the narrative entirely, positioning herself as the misunderstood savior while subtly painting the other wives as the saboteurs of a spiritual principle that she insists still matters, even as Kody's world has already unraveled beyond recognition. From the moment the words left her mouth, the cameras captured every flicker of emotion on the faces of Meri, Janelle, and Christine. Yes, Christine, whose Season 20 appearances have become a major talking point in themselves. Christine's expression was the most telling, a mix of disbelief, anger, and a kind of exhausted clarity that only someone who has now fully reclaimed her independence could possibly convey. Meri looked devastated, not because she agreed with Robyn, but because, once again, she was being cast as a failure in a family she spent decades trying to hold together while receiving little support in return. Janelle, calm but visibly fuming beneath the surface, pressed her lips tightly, the kind of expression that fans immediately recognized as her "I'm trying not to explode on camera" face. And yet, as dramatic as their reactions were, it was the fandom's response that revealed just how deeply Robyn's statement cut through the show's emotional core. Social media erupted within minutes of the episode airing, with fans calling the line gaslighting at its finest, the most manipulative sentence ever heard on the show, and proof that Robyn isn't confused or naive. She knows exactly what she's doing. Some viewers even claimed that the moment was so chilling, they rewound the episode multiple times to process it. But what makes Robyn's Season 20 statement so diabolical isn't just the word she chose, it's the timing. For months leading up to the new season, leaks and behind-the-scenes rumors suggested that Kody and Robyn were facing pressures they hadn't previously dealt with: financial strain, growing public backlash, and the emotional fallout of Kody losing 3 wives in the span of 2 years. The cracks were obvious. Kody, no longer able to hide behind spiritual rhetoric or optimism, has become increasingly defensive, erratic, and reliant on Robyn to shield him emotionally, while simultaneously feeding his narrative that he is the true victim of his wife's perceived betrayal. And Robyn, once known for her tears and trembling voice, has shifted into a new kind of presence, one that feels more composed, more strategic, and strangely empowered by the downfall of the plural marriage she once claimed she desperately wanted. Season 20 shows her stepping into a role that feels both unexpected and unsettling, the architect of the new Brown family, shaping the future while rewriting the past, and viewers are watching in horror and fascination as she does it. Her statement, "I might be the only one left willing to fix what the others are determined to tear apart," wasn't just emotional manipulation, it was a declaration of dominance, asserting herself as the last standing wife and the moral compass of a family whose fractures she insists she didn't create, even as the show repeatedly paints her as the centerpiece of those fractures. Critics argue that the line was crafted not for the family, but for the cameras, for the edit, for the audience who Robyn clearly knows is divided between those who defend her and those who blame her for the family's downfall. It's the kind of statement that forces a reaction, the kind that demands attention, the kind that becomes the central clip in every season trailer, TikTok recap, and fan theory breakdown. Inside the family, however, the impact is even more devastating. Christine, who has moved on and formed a life filled with genuine happiness and stability, privately confesses in a later season 20 scene that Robyn's narrative is dangerous, insisting that it's not about spiritual marriage, unity, or principles. It's about control, power, and how far Robyn is willing to go to protect the image she believes she deserves. Janelle, meanwhile, becomes increasingly vocal about how Robyn's martyr complex has skewed Cody's view of reality, creating a dynamic where truth becomes irrelevant and perception, specifically Robyn's perception, becomes the family's guiding force. Mary, caught between wanting closure and wanting acknowledgement, says in one emotional confession that Robyn's statement felt like a slap in the face after all the years I spent holding on to something that never existed. What season 20 does masterfully is peel back the layers of Robyn's persona in a way no season has ever dared to do. Through confessionals, tense group discussions, and candid moments filmed when she thought no one was paying attention, Robyn's emotional strategy becomes glaringly apparent. She positions herself as the moral victim, the spiritual anchor, the misunderstood wife who only ever wanted the family to succeed, while simultaneously discrediting the experiences, traumas, and legitimate grievances of the other wives. And yet, her approach works, at least on Cody. He becomes increasingly dependent on her narrative, parroting her lines, echoing her claims, and reinforcing her role as the one remaining wife who truly believes in him. Fans have described this dynamic as psychological entanglement, a pairing so insular and mutually validating that it has shut the other wives out entirely, leaving the foundation of the plural marriage system to crumble beyond repair. But perhaps the most explosive part of the season comes when producers reveal never-before-seen footage of a private conversation between Robyn and Cody, filmed months before the other wives fully separated. In the clip, Robyn appears calm, composed, and startlingly certain as she explains to Cody that if the other wives walk away, it will ultimately prove that they were never committed to the family in the first place. The way she says it, soft voice, slight smile, almost eerily serene, sent a chill down the fandom's collective spine. This wasn't the teary, overwhelmed Robyn viewers were used to. This was a woman who understood the narrative she wanted and was already several steps ahead of everyone else in shaping it. When the clip aired, fans immediately labeled it the smoking gun, proof that Robyn not only anticipated the family's collapse but positioned herself to emerge from it as the loyal one, the stable one, the spiritual one, even if that meant painting everyone else as disloyal, selfish, and emotionally negligent. The season's editing only heightens the tension by juxtaposing Robyn's carefully crafted narrative with the raw, unfiltered experiences of the other wives. Christine speaks openly about years of emotional distance and neglect. Janelle recounts moments where she felt invisible in her own marriage. Mary breaks down describing the loneliness she endured while Robyn's connection to Cody grew stronger, deeper, and more exclusive. And yet, every time the wives share these vulnerable truths, the episode immediately cuts to Robyn denying, reframing, or subtly undermining their stories, insisting that these wounds are misunderstandings, exaggerations, or things that she tried to fix but the others refused to work on. The fandom, however, isn't buying it. Season 20 has triggered one of the strongest fan reactions in the show's entire run, with viewers calling for TLC to release unedited footage, demanding accountability and questioning whether Robyn's narrative manipulation has gone too far. Online forums have erupted with theories that Robyn has been intentionally isolating Cody for years, turning him against the other wives while building a monogamous marriage under the guise of plural unity. Some fans have even dubbed her the mastermind, claiming that every tear, every trembling confession, every emotional collapse was part of a long-term strategy to become Cody's favored wife and ultimately his only wife. Yet the most haunting part of the season isn't the blame, the tears, or the dramatic confessionals. It's the realization that the family the Browns once pretended to be is gone forever. The trust is shattered, the bonds severed, and the spiritual foundation obliterated. And in the midst of the wreckage stands Robyn, delivering statements that feel less like pleas for healing and more like final declarations in a battle she has already decided she won. Her diabolical Season 20 statement is no mere moment of frustration. It's the thesis of a narrative she has spent years crafting, a narrative in which she is the hero, the victim, and the one left standing among the ruins of a plural marriage that will never again resemble the dream the Browns once sold to the world. And just when viewers thought Robyn's Season 20 arc couldn't get any more unsettling, the tension skyrockets as the episodes dive deeper into the aftermath of her now infamous statement, exposing layer upon layer of emotional manipulation, family fractures, and a level of self-preservation that fans say borders on calculated psychological warfare, turning what was once a show about plural marriage into a masterclass in how far a person will go to rewrite their role in a collapsing family empire. What becomes increasingly clear is that Robyn's statement wasn't delivered in a moment of emotional vulnerability. It was delivered with purpose, intent, and a strangely chilling confidence that catches even seasoned viewers off guard. The more she repeats variations of the same sentiment, that she alone has carried the family's spiritual torch while the others gave up, the more obvious it becomes that she is attempting to cement herself as the last loyal wife in the public consciousness, as though the marriage's degradation was not the result of neglect, favoritism, and emotional exclusion, but instead the inevitable fallout of the other wives' supposed lack of commitment. But what Robyn did not anticipate, and what becomes a central turning point in the mid-season episodes, is the wives pushing back harder than they ever have before. Christine, now fully empowered and unfiltered, calls Robyn's statement rewriting of history so bold it's almost insulting, pointing out that Robyn benefited from years of preferential treatment while the rest of them fought to salvage footholds in a marriage that no longer had room for them. Janelle, normally diplomatic, confronts Robyn in a tense sit-down that Season 20 promos have replayed endlessly, telling her bluntly, "You're not the only one who cared about this family. You're just the only one who needed everyone to pretend everything was fine." Even Mary, for so long the quiet, suffering observer, finally reaches her breaking point, calling out Robyn's tendency to weaponize tears, sympathy, and guilt to steer family discussions in her favor. It's a moment raw enough to make even the producers pause, and fans have described it as the most cathartic scene the series has aired in years. Still, despite the mounting pressure and the growing resistance from the other wives, Cody remains completely under Robyn's emotional spell, something viewers are calling the most infuriating and tragic part of the entire season. The more cornered Robyn appears, the more fiercely Cody defends her, lashing out at the other wives, blaming them for the family's destruction, and echoing Robyn's narrative so closely that many fans believe he no longer has thoughts independent of hers. His confessionals grow increasingly erratic, filled with emotional outbursts, sweeping declarations, and a bizarre insistence that Robyn is the only wife who ever loved him the right way, a line that instantly became one of the most talked-about soundbites of the season. Viewers say it's not just heartbreaking, it's disturbing, a sign of a man who has fully surrendered to a version of reality crafted for him, not by him.